So I'm joined by Chandrashekar Pandey, good friend of mine. I've known him from 2008, and that's how old we're getting. And he's the security and resiliency platform CMETA lead. So thank you, Chandrashekar, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Iman.
So I want to discuss two questions in more detail with you, since you are what I consider the expert in this field. With everything happening around the region, I've seen so much chatter and noise about how can I make sure I don't have one copy or two copies or three copies, but sometimes four copies of my backup data across different landing zones, because I want the biggest security blanket no matter what the scenario that happens. Where, previously we talked about, oh, if you have your backup in one spot, you just need a second one in your DR data center, you should be good to go. Or if you're in the hyperscalers, in two availability zones, you're fine. But now the discussions we're having with different customers and organizations is this is not enough anymore. I need to be much more robust in case the worst case scenario happens. What are you seeing and how are we addressing this?
Yeah, I think you picked up one of the right spot over here, if I would say. Okay. In the current scenario, most of the organization, the data is not at one place, right? It's all over the place, if I would say. So right now, most of them are adopting hybrid model where they have data on premises, maybe in other countries, and in some cases, even across multiple hyperscaler. So what they are looking at is how they can protect all these data in a various way, covering all the element of it, right? And that's where the idea is you should look at how I can bring them all of under one umbrella from a solution perspective. And this is where we are helping a lot of our customer, like does not matter where your data resides. We can protect the data across on-premises, in the cloud, or in the private cloud environment, and wherever you want to, right? So we have customers who are having an on-premise infrastructure, but due to certain geopolitical issues, they are looking at creating a critical copy of data outside. And that's where we're helping our customer to easily protect those data from on-premise to hyperscaler and hyperscaler of their choice. Doesn't matter whether they're looking at Amazon, AWS, for example, or they're looking at Google or Microsoft,
Right.
and vice versa also, where they are looking at creating a copy of data on premise because of regulatory reasons.
Yeah.
So we help in both the case.
Right. So we're enabling them to store their data in whatever model or organizational factors they take into consideration. Let me ask you another question. So a lot of discussions across the region are, okay, I have, especially in government, I see this, or in large organizations that have a lot of departments spread across the world, like you said, or across the country. And they start to say, okay, I need a centralized vault. And I want the centralized backup and I want the centralized vault. How is Dell helping customers achieve this? Because, so many, if you have, let's say, multiple organizations across the government, every single one of them have different backup policies, different backup softwares, different procedures, and you want to build a centralized solution with the minimum amount of pain, minimum amount of investment, and minimum time, because time is the essence at the moment. What are the approaches Dell takes to make this easier for our customers?
So the way that Dell looks at it, they look at it as an end-to-end approach, and we call it as a framework, which we focus on, which is secure, detect, and recover model, where we look at all of this as a business services. And ultimately, the objective is how do we protect this business services? And the key part of this is building based on the open architecture model, where we want to ensure that the customers are able to protect all these critical assets in a way without disrupting too much on a centralized platform, which is open and ready to accept this architecture, where we can protect all the data and we can secure them, detect them. At the same time, we build the entire recovery model. And the way we do that is to ensure that we have the immutable copies. These are isolated. We bring the intelligence around it. And most important, we bring the entire recovery services around it so they can recover the data at much faster. They can recover the business services. And most importantly, clean and fast. That's what the value that Dell brings to the table.
So, you mentioned a lot of stuff, and I know this is one of the, and I discussed this with Ahmed Fuad also. The most important thing is to be able to make sure you have a golden copy that's, like you said, isolated, immutable, and you have the intelligence to catch any ransomware or malware infection, so you can recover something with confidence. What I've seen in the past few years with the organizations that already implemented these solutions with Dell is the requirement for RPO and RTO keeps getting more and more strict and restrictive to say, you know what, I don't want to lose up to 24 hours of data. I don't want to take 4 hours to recover. This key application I have, whether it's core banking, core billing, or key governmental application, how do I get this recovering faster and faster and faster? What have we done to help our customers achieve this?
If you look at it, the journey specifically we started on this is more than a decade ago.
Right, I remember it.
And I think we have evolved over a period of time. We have learned a lot. We have learned from the experience. We started this journey typically from a backup perspective. That's where we started the journey. We're trying to create a copy of the data in an isolated environment. But over a period of time, we have matured this entire solution, if I would say, where we bring a lot of elements. So the primary focus was backup. Later on, we focused on primarily, let's say, unstructured data, where we know they are very large in size. And sometimes these data cannot be looked only from a protection perspective, but in terms of availability perspective, how quickly we can make it available. And that's where we have built solution to protect this unstructured data, providing a similar of resilience capabilities against the cyber attack and making it easier. Later on, what we did is that, okay, fine, we took care of the backups, we took care of the unstructured data, we started focusing on structured data. And that's where we looked at the primary storage as a capability perspective and how we can bring the similar kind of resilience around that, where we are looking at an option where how can we bring up the services as quick as possible. And this is the major element which needs to be looked on. And that's something which we brought into picture, where we have a ready template available, where we have our primary storage, we have our unstructured data, and we also have the critical application being protected, right? And that's how we cover an end-to-end element to bring back these business services as soon as possible, followed by the critical services, which is very, very important point, where we have everything well documented so that we bring back the services as soon as possible. And that's where the services elements comes into picture, clubbing them, all of them together as one single solution to the customers and addressing end-to-end solution. That's what we focus on.
You know, you mentioned a few things, and I'll ask you one last question because now it just came to my mind. Infrastructure side, we have it all covered, right? From the backup to the active unstructured data to the active structured data, and we have the capability to keep recovering faster, faster, faster. Of course, it takes a lot of organizational preparedness and practice and repeating testing to be faster. One thing I want to ask you, what is the biggest gap you've seen where customers miss out on a specific task or piece of the solution that's critical, but we overlook sometimes that we need to put more focus on?
I think you are absolutely correct here, because if you look at it, most of the time, we keep the entire stack ready, but some of this element really plays a crucial role. And one of the key things for this is the playbooks. Okay. You need to have this playbook, you need to have this run book, and most important is the drills. Because in today's time, it's not about creating this copy, it's about recoverability.
Right.
And recovery with confidence and the clean. And the only way you can make it easier, that you should have all of this well documented as part of the process in a form of a run book. If you can automate this, wonderful, because then you're removing the lot of human elements out of it. And most important point is your team needs to be trained for this.
Right.
And if you do this periodic training, I've seen in most of the cases where a team which is untrained versus trained, this can really make a lot of differences. When I'm saying differences, you're talking from months to day of recoverability. And that's a huge, huge
of course,
impact.
the impact is financially, service level, organizationally, countrywide. This is a huge impact.
Absolutely.
That's great. Thank you a lot, Shekhar. Always a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.